Jason recently pulled a fortune from a cookie that says your communication skills will be heightened on a Tuesday. We're recording on Tuesday. We're recording for Week 18 in the NFL. Let's get right into it. How do we get to this point? It is time for Week 18 in the NFL, the last regular season game weekend of the year before we hit the playoffs, and there's still so much to be decided, along with our picks, of what's going to happen in the NFL. And I literally had 3 people just out of the blue talk to me yesterday about football and say just, it's been insane this year. It's been insane going into the last week. You have teams on losing streaks that still have a chance to make the playoffs. You have teams that are losing games that are at the worst possible time. And we have two big matchups this week that pretty much determine seeding and if you're even in the playoffs. So we're going to be looking at all 16 games. Thank you guys for being here all season. And we're just going to get right into it. Last week, we're just up front, we were 5-11 overall. Week 17 and 18 are so hard to bet, especially when players, who's playing a whole game, who's resting. You were 2-1, take it to the bank picks, which is good. That's our bread and butter. And best of all, you're now for the season 2-0 on your absolute guaranteed picks with the 49ers.
49ers beating the Bears. That was sweet.
A little bit sweaty, but still sweet. Doubly sweet for you as a Packers fan.
Yep.
But let's just hop into it. Only games on Saturday and Sunday this week. No Thursday, no Monday. That's all done with.
Yep.
But we're going to go Saturday afternoon at 1:30, opening up with the Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is one of those games where the Bucs are on a skid. They need to win, and they're going to need some help, and they can still make the playoffs. And presently, they are favored by 2.5 points at home.
Yeah, Tampa Bay, they have had a rough go for a good number of weeks now. Emeka Egbuka's playing, he's obsolete. He's not playing well. He's not, Baker's not throwing very good passes. Mbuka's missing passes. He's not running great routes. He hits rookie wall, it feels like, the last 7-8 weeks for some reason. They're not utilizing Bucky Irving, and their defense has been just horrid. Now, on the other side of the ball, you got Carolina Panthers, who they're doing enough. They're winning some big games. They beat Green Bay. They beat the Rams. They beat Tampa a couple weeks ago. Both teams, this division is a dumpster fire. Okay, the NFC South is terrible, unpredictable, just bad football around. So this is a battle of like the lesser of evils to win and go to the playoffs and probably be one and done. But who's it going to be? Like, everyone wants to know. It's a Saturday game, so both teams are going to play as hard as possible, because obviously Tampa will be out if Atlanta wins, but they won't know that when they play Saturday. So based on that, and based on the fact that I think Tampa, whose defense has struggled a lot, Carolina definitely has had their ups and downs and inconsistencies. I think Tampa is going to rise to the occasion on this Saturday. Baker's going to actually have a good game. They're going to get it done. Take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to cover the 2.5 at home. Boom.
I think there's always a benefit, too, on that rubber match of a game. You've already had some tape of the team you're playing relatively recently.
They're very familiar with each other.
Obviously, yeah. And then Saturday night at 5 p.m., the second and last game for Saturday night. This is a big one for these teams. The Seattle Seahawks with the best record in the conference, and they are on the road at the 49ers, who Brock Purdy's been playing like a freaking surgeon. The 49ers are looking good at the right time, and this is huge. If they win, correct me if I'm wrong, they take over the first seed. They get the bye, and they will have home field advantage all the way through the Super Bowl, with it being in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So there is so much on the line. The 49ers look hot. Seattle Seahawks on the road, favored by 1.5.
San Fran, the team that was just injury-riddled. They're still without their 2 best, defensive players for the rest of the year with Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. But they're finding the way. Granted, their defense was giving up tons of points to the Bears, but that offense put up 42-plus points with George Kittle out. So that said something right there. And this San Francisco team just keeps plugging away. They're kind of under the radar. Their schedule's been pretty easy this year overall, but they're winning games, and now they control their destiny to literally, they win the game. It's as simple as they win the game, and their suitcases get put away because they're not going anywhere. Okay, they're going to be playing at home all the way through the Super Bowl, which would be pretty impressive. Will it happen, though? You got a situation where Sam Darnold showed some kinks again in the armor last week. You know, he makes some bad choices, but he's finding a way. This team is running well. They have a great 1-2 punch with Charbonnet and Walker. Frustrating for fantasy football owners like myself who played Walker and sat Charbonnet, who had a bigger game. But that's a good problem to have if you're the Seattle Seahawks. Jackson Smith and Jigba has been huge, and Rashid Shaheed coming in, being traded before the deadline has been big for them as well. And not only from a receiver standpoint, but from a special team standpoint. Monster game, but Kyle Shanahan, this guy's a great coach, and he's going up against a young coach in Seattle who's also doing really well. Huge battle, huge implications, and bottom line, San Fran getting points at home in the biggest game of the season for them and the most important game. They have home field travel through San Francisco all the way to the Super Bowl, is why I believe San Francisco is going to get it done. They're going to I think they're going to fluster Sam Darnold just enough and hopefully get enough pressure, which they're not known for. San Francisco is last in sacks and very low on pressures against quarterbacks, so that will help Sam Darnold some. But this offense has been dynamic, and I think they'll continue to be so at home. Take San Francisco, +1.5. Boom.
You mentioned Sam Darnold. We can't discount the X factor of late season Sam Darnold. And you never know. Is the collapse going to start earlier than the playoffs now? Or,
It's a good question.
This big. Let's go to Sunday then, where all the rest of the games will be played. Guess who's starting off, but in kind of a game now it doesn't have much meaning. Your Green Bay Packers are on the road at the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings are 6-point favorites at home. I think we know why. It's because the Packers nothing's going to change for them.
Right.
So not many are expected to play.
Right.
But still, 6 points. What do you think?
Minnesota, they beat Detroit last week when Detroit had everything on the line. They beat Detroit with Minnesota having net +3 passing yards. How is that even humanly possible? It is insane. Net 3 yards, and they beat the Lions. Now Minnesota is, going to be playing in a very, it's a prideful game. They're at home where they play really well. They still have the same third-string terrible quarterback, but Green Bay has nothing to play for. Nothing. Literally, Malik Willis got hurt just before the end of this last game, and we brought in our third string off the streets quarterback, off the practice squad, and he might be starting again this week. They're going to probably sit Christian Watson, who's been huge for the Green Bay Packers since he came back. He's an outstanding player. He had a great, good game last week. He's probably going to sit. They're probably going to sit just about everybody. I don't know who they are going to play, to be honest. They might sit everyone from all their starting running backs, all their starting receivers. They're going to definitely sit, Jordan Love is not going to play whatsoever. I don't know who's going to play. So for that alone, in Minnesota, in a game that Green Bay, outside of pride of beating Minnesota and maybe getting the 10-win mark, have zero reason to win. Minnesota doesn't have any reason to win either, other than that they hate the Green Bay Packers and they want to win. So for that combination of all those factors in a game that just don't bet it probably because it's like betting preseason football. It's just ridiculous. Take the Vikings, -6 at home. Boom.
So much hate in your division. Can't we just love? All right, well.
It's called the Black and Blue Division for a reason.
There's sadness in Texas here. The Indianapolis Colts, who are now eliminated from the playoffs, started 7-1. Got
8-2.
Started 7-1.
Yep.
Got to 7-2. Got to 8-2, and have not won a game. And hey, props to Phillip Rivers. He gave up his another 5 years to be enshrined for 3 losses, but the dude was out there fighting, arguing with the refs. It was good to see him make a stand. And you know what? He didn't do horrible.
No.
But that said, he's sitting this game. He has no reason to play. They're going to start their 7th round rookie or whatever they have. They're taking on the Texans, and Texans -10. Is that even enough to give them?
Texans are still playing for a little something.
Yeah.
So they're going to be motivated to win this game. Indy has no motivation. Obviously, Phillip Rivers, hey, you know what? Good situation for him. He came out of retirement. You have 10 kids. Well, guess what? He has 5 more years of free health insurance. So that's something, right? I mean, that was about to expire. And now and coming back at that age, he enshrined himself. If he wasn't going to be in the Hall of Fame, he's 100% Hall of Fame, because he's not to blame for why they lost the games he played in. You can blame the defense, you can blame circumstances. Yes, he threw some rough interceptions.
He couldn't throw the ball downfield, but
give the guy a break. He came off, he was coaching a Catholic high school, for God's sake, which all the kids, they had to be loving life. Their coach, they're so proud of him. I mean,
I think you do coach a Catholic school, for God's sake. I think you do, actually.
Oh my God.
Let's go to the actual game though this weekend. So what are we thinking? -10 for the Texans.
It's a dumpster fire game. It's in Houston. Houston's defense is great. CJ Stroud looked pretty rough last week, but it's not going to matter. Indy's probably not going to have anything left in the tank. Texans are playing for something pretty significant still. I mean, it's simple as it's a lot of points in any Week 18, but I don't really see Indy scoring many points, period. So Texans put up 21 plus, I think. They cover the 10. Take the Texans -10.
Yeah, there's actually quite a number of double-digit spreads in Week 18 because it's always insane.
Yep.
Well, here we go. 2 B teams who get an F for the season. Cleveland Browns are at the Bengals. Again, neither team has anything going on here. Bengals are scoring, though, now, and they are 7.5-point favorites in Cincinnati.
Yeah, we're going to keep this simple. I mean, the Bengals the offense was amazing last week. They put up a ton of points, against a bad team. Congratulations to them. The season's over. The Browns season is over. The question is Shedeur Sanders going to be the quarterback of the Browns next year? Who knows? We'll see. But this game, another dumpster fire. The Bengals are dead to me on the dead to me list. But in this case, at home against a hated rival, we're going to give the nod to the Bengals -7.5. It's one of those games that's don't touch, don't bet it. But I think there's no reason to think that the Bengals shouldn't be able to get it done here. I can't imagine Cleveland hanging with the offense of the Bengals.
Yeah, I was about to say, even with Cleveland beating the Steelers, they only put up 10 points. 10 points is not going to cut it against Joe Burrow on not his worst day, because he had his worst day 2 weeks ago when they didn't score, but nearly his worst day. Burrow's going to put up more than 6 points.
Yeah, at home, they're going to put up plenty of points. They're going to win that game.
We talked about this one right before we recorded, not because it's my Giants, but because it's the Dallas Cowboys -3 at the New York Giants. Giants, by lieu of, which team tanked better? The Raiders tanked excellently this weekend to move into the number 1 draft pick spot. The Giants don't need to win this game.
Nope.
Everyone's dead. That whole division, other than the Eagles, is pretty much a dumpster as well.
Yep.
Where did you end up landing on this?
I mean, it's another brutal game. There's a lot of them this week. Cowboys playing for no motivation other than strictly pride. The Giants, definitely you would think that don't want to win. I mean, obviously the Giants losing to the Raiders is not a big deal because the Raiders are going to take a quarterback. The Giants are not in need of a quarterback. Granted, the Giants would love to have the first pick because then obviously they can trade it down and get draft capital. But that didn't happen. Going forward, we know the Raiders are going to tank and lose this upcoming week. That's likely. So that being said, the Giants at home, are they going to play for pride? Are they going to play their starters? They don't need to have Jackson Dart, getting messed up, although they'll have plenty of time to, heal from another concussion, I guess. But, I mean, I had this conversation last night with some people. I mean, the Giants have 3 really good, solid skill position players. And with a good draft pick, they can add a 4th. So they're not going to win this game. Bottom line, the Cowboys will get it done. This is a game you probably want to just not touch either because who knows where the heart of the Cowboys will be. But guess what? Cowboys -3. No way I'm taking the Giants. It's that simple.
I could see maybe Dak wanting to pad his all-time passing leader stats as well. Okay, let's keep going. Here's that game that's going to affect possibly the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if they do win the game, as you're predicting. The New Orleans Saints, who are winners of the last 3, apparently have their quarterback of the future.
Mhm.
They're at the Falcons, who we just don't know what Falcons team this is ever. They can beat the Bills, and they're at home. They can beat teams they shouldn't be beating. They put together a record that they don't. There's just no point, and the Falcons keep finding ways to make these upsets.
Yep.
-3 between the dumpster fire teams.
First thing I'm going to address for the Atlanta Falcons is congratulations to my friend Sam. Holy man, last night he was at the game, and his team not only won, the Atlanta Falcons, he's back home visiting family, but Bijan Robinson for fantasy in his DraftKings lineup, best ball, had a monster game, and he won the competition for $2 million.
This is okay. The IRS watches the video, right? We're not ratting him out.
He's not dodging that one,
congrats,
baby.
man. That's insane.
Congrats on that, Sam. You better have bought a Bijan jersey, and he better be your favorite player of all time going forward.
You need a Bijan tattoo.
Yeah, I think Bijan Robinson tattoo on your shaved head.
Okay.
Like a picture of him, like a mural right here to remind you when you look in the mirror, this guy made you $2 million. So anyway, maybe it's a tax deduction. You'll need one. So, yeah, moving on. The Atlanta Falcons continue to surprise people. I mean, they stink it up in the spots where they shouldn't, but then they beat the Bills, they beat the Rams, they win these other games. Kirk Cousins is playing for his career. Obviously, he believes he's a starter in the league still, and he's trying to play like that. They finally, at the end of the year, utilized Bijan Robinson how they should have. Too little, too late. They can play spoiler, though. And guess what? They're going to, because I'm not even going to talk about the Saints. The Saints are the Saints. Their quarterback that they have seems to be pretty solid. Okay, he's having a pretty good campaign since he's been in the starting lineup. So they got a future ahead of them. Chris Olave looks great. But this Saints team on the road in a game that means nothing, Atlanta, I think they're going to play hard, try to get the W. And if they can spoil it for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm pretty sure they'll be happy about that as well. Take the Atlanta Falcons, who have burnt us all year long, -3 to get it done. Finally. Boom.
All right. I don't know who's playing for what here, if they are, but the Titans, who are obviously playing for nothing, are on the road in Jacksonville against the Jags. The Jags, as you say. This is tied for our biggest point spread right now. Jaguars -12.5.
Yeah, Jaguars are still playing for something. I mean, they're still playing for division with Houston.
Yeah.
So they definitely are motivated. They need to win the game. Will they cover 12.5? I mean, there'll be some scoreboard watching going on and whatnot. But, yeah, Tennessee, they played with a lot of heart last week, and we picked them as an upset, and they ended up leaking away the victory and lost outright, unfortunately, by, 6 or whatever it was. So that was unfortunate. But Tennessee going forward, they have a young, talented rookie at wide receiver, and they have a young, talented quarterback that is probably only going to get better from here. But in this game, Jacksonville at home, who has surprised a lot of people. I mean, they are just knocking teams down, winning games. Trevor Lawrence has played outstanding when earlier in the year he looked really sketchy. This team, I tell you, in Duval County, that
was funny.
They're doing it. They're getting it done, and they're going to get this one done. Are they going to cover? It's a lot of points. I say yes, they will. Take the Jacksonville Jaguars to cover 12.5. Boom.
Yeah, it's hard on some of these spreads to pick the upsets. I mean, it's hard to pick all favorites, but it's also hard to go the opposite direction on a lot of these.
Right, exactly.
Middle of the road here, divisional game with now I guess nothing, no ranking here on the line for anybody really. Miami Dolphins coming off a win on the road against the Patriots. Patriots -10.5, and this is Star Wars. The Death Star was destroyed when Tom Brady left. And a little less than a decade later, the new Death Star is up and running. First place Patriots, congrats.
Yep, how things have changed. The Kansas City Chiefs have fallen and crumbled, and the Patriots have risen again. Or have they risen? Because the Patriots have literally only played 2 games or only won 2 games against teams above 500.
Yep.
So they've had one of the worst schedules. And right now, a lot of people are saying, is Denver one of those like fake fraud teams, and is New England the other fake fraud team? So that's going to be decided coming up here in the playoffs. You have two teams there. Patriots and the Broncos came from worst to first, right? So huge game.
That's this season in
It's
a nutshell.
Yep. Huge game for New England, though, because New England is at, they're solidly, they're in the number 2 hole. They need to get this win to keep the number 2, but they all, most likely depend on what other teams do. But they need the win to have a shot at the number 1 seed over Denver. It would take a Denver loss, but they're still playing for a lot. You look at the other side, Miami, they're finding ways to win some games. How, I don't know. No more Tua. Maybe that's part of it. Miami's terrible. That franchise is terrible. Will they ever make the playoffs ever again in the next 20 years? Probably not. But we'll see. Okay, we'll see. As far as this game, they're going to try to play spoiler. The problem is, I'm going to guess it's going to be pretty cold. Haven't looked at the forecast recently, but it's going to be pretty cold in New England. And last time I checked, now Tua hasn't won in certain weather. He's not playing. So Tua has been attached to Miami, so you can say Miami hasn't won, but now it's a different quarterback. So it changes that dynamic, but Miami's a warm weather team. They don't win in the cold. New England's going to be cold, and they're playing for a lot. Miami's going to try to play spoiler. It's not going to happen. The question is, will they stay within 10.5? I don't think so. I think New England comes out. The defense is going to give a lot of problems to Miami. Drake May trying to continue his MVP campaign. I think he's going to have a hell of a game. This running game looks outstanding. New England routs the Miami Dolphins. Take New England minus 10.5. Boom.
I can make a 6-7 reference. In the beginning of the season, you said the Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to win like 6-7 games, and sure enough, it's going to be one of those two numbers. Kansas City Chiefs come here to Las Vegas to finally put the Raiders season out of its misery. The Kansas City Chiefs minus 5.5.
Yeah, Chiefs fans did not plan on coming to Las Vegas for this purpose. They thought it was going to be a party leading into the playoffs. Unfortunately, they were dead wrong. The Chiefs are dead. The Raiders are just that much worse. It's simple as that. The Raiders are in full tank mode. We're not going to take much time on this. The Chiefs are probably not going to play anybody. They already shelved, receivers. They're on their third string quarterback. They have zero motivation to win or lose. They're just going to be there going through the motions. Travis Kelce probably goes off into the sunset, retiring to his married life with Taylor Swift, and it's that simple. So we're going to take in a miserable game that no one cares about on earth. We're going to take the Chiefs minus 5.5 because the Raiders are going to lose. It's a matter of they're going to lose by more than 5.5.
Yeah, I mean the Giants put up.
And frankly, it might come down to what Las Vegas wants them to do because maybe they'll take a timeout and kick something at the very end. The Raider fashion, they'll be down 6 points, and they'll kick a field goal from the 30 on 4th down with 1 second left. If you want to bet this game, the safest thing to do is if you believe the Raiders are definitely in take mode and they're not going to possibly win the game, you do like a teaser, do like a 3-team 6-point teaser or a 2-team, include Kansas City in that one, and that's like a lock it up, okay? Just Kansas City to win the game, simple, free money. Boom.
So much more hatred in the next game from these two teams, and the Detroit Lions playing for nothing. Maybe Detroit wasn't the team that anybody thought they were for the last couple of years. That's a snap back to reality.
Yep.
It doesn't feel that long ago, but this was Detroit for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
First place Bears, and the Bears are favored by 3.
Are we in a twilight zone that the Bears are actually potentially going to be the number 2 seed? I mean, like I've said over and over to my friends and other people, a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. That is how you describe the Chicago Bears.
You could say a blind bear finds a honeycomb.
Oh, God.
Insert Winnie the Pooh clip right here.
Nice. So I called one of the two things. I said the Bears would absolutely lose to the Niners, okay? And after they beat the Packers. I said they were going to lose to Detroit, okay? Now, I didn't anticipate Detroit was going to completely crap the bed and play for nothing because they lost to the Minnesota Vikings. So I didn't anticipate that. But guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown and a couple of the Detroit Lions, their attitude about playing on Christmas, how they whined about, we had to play Thanksgiving and Christmas. Wah, 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 wah. If you have kids or whatever, I get it. But guess what? A lot of people in the world work on holidays, and
And
they're
they're
not
making
and
a
they're not
million.
making $500,000 a game or more. Boo hoo hoo. I mean, the bottom line is, will they have enough heart to beat Chicago? They should be able to. Okay, Chicago's defense, we saw how bad it was, and it's mediocre at best overall. They're down Luther Burden. He got hurt just before at the end of this last game against San Fran. So I'm guessing Roma Dunze is not going to play this one because they're going to save him for the playoffs. So I don't see how Chicago can muster the offense. But then again, Detroit's defense is god awful too. So if Chicago could hang 40, almost 40 points on San Fran, you would think they could do the same to Detroit possibly. Caleb Williams is playing really good. I'll give credit where credit's due. Caleb Williams is playing good. The running game's really good. This is a wild game. But I still think Detroit wins this game. Bottom line, Detroit is going to get it done. Take Detroit +3 to get it done against Chicago. I'm going to hold up to what I said. They're going to lose their last 2. It's not really relevant. Maybe they're going to drop to a 3 seed instead of the 2 seed, worst case scenario. But either way, Detroit guts it out. Dan Campbell gets them to play hard for one more game. Boom.
The Detroit Lions remind me of the movie Moneyball. Like all this going for it on 4th and being aggressive, it did well to get them wins, but they never reached the end zone, so to speak, for the championship.
Yep.
Maybe we start to see a shift. Teams actually taking points again. Well, here's a team that might need some points against a miserable team. What is up with the Bills? This is the worst season for Josh Allen collapses. They're at home against the New York Jets, and they're favored by 7. And in my mind, this feels like it should be a mortal lock any other weekend.
I don't know what to say. I'm at a loss. Like, everything is set up perfectly for the Bills to win the Super Bowl. You got no Mahomes, most likely no Lamar Jackson. You have no Joe Burrow. The 3 teams that have been a thorn in the side of the Buffalo Bills. You replaced it with last place Bo Nix, Denver, who's now in first. The other way with New England, who basically New England's been the whipping, getting whipped by Buffalo for a good number of years since Tom Brady left. And here we are. Now Buffalo is just unpredictable and struggling. This game, Buffalo's not playing for much, okay? They're in the playoffs. Maybe they can go up one notch potentially in seeding if they win and other teams lose. But ultimately, the Jets are the Jets, and they're terrible. Their quarterback situation's a mess. Their team is a mess. Will they cover the spread? This is the last game, I believe. This is one of the last games at Buffalo Stadium, the old stadium, because they're going to be in a new stadium next year. So I wouldn't have thought they would have lost, this last game against Philly, but Philly's a much better team. I have a hard time believing that Buffalo is going to yield to the Jets. But you know what? Even if Josh Allen sits out any part of this game, I still think they win with Mitchell Trubisky because the Jets are that bad. So this is one of those games, don't touch it, okay? A lot of these games don't touch, bottom line. But this one, if you have to, or you need him for a picking pool, take the Bills -7 to cover the spread against the lowly Jets, who are just the Jets.
Yeah. Okay, last 4 games. Washington Commanders take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles are at home. Here we go again, -7, same as the Bills.
Washington and the Eagles, yeah. Washington's playing for nothing, of course. They're in Philly. How hard is Washington, Philly going to be playing in this one? They do stand to, I believe, ladder up to the number 2 seed in the event the Bears lose and they win. So they are definitely playing for something. Jalen Hurts, the Eagles had a great first half against Buffalo, and then Jalen Hurts had 0 completions in the second half against Buffalo, and they won the game.
It's insane.
And they won the game basically because the Bills went for a 2-point conversion. What I don't get at home, when you kick the extra point to tie it up and you go to overtime at home, that's what you do, okay? You especially do it when you literally held the opposing team to 0 completions and no offense, essentially, in the second half. Like, you go to overtime. It's called momentum. But for some reason, they thought, okay, we're just going to go for 2 and try to win it right here, which I understand the idea. But why? Why? You literally have shut this Eagles team down. You got the magical touchdown. The momentum is yours. Why go for 2 there? That was a big mistake in my thought. And in turn, Philadelphia, once again, is in a good spot because of it. And now Philly has to play their starters. They lose this game, they don't even play their starters this week. But they won. Now they're playing for something. A big division rival in Philly. The fans are tough there. They throw snowballs at Santa Claus. They're going to get it done. Take the Philadelphia Eagles to cover the spread, -7. Boom.
The last of the 3 games of the NFL's regular season sees the Arizona Cardinals travel to SoFi to take on the LA Rams. Rams on a 2-game skid.
Yeah, this is a game that it's very simple. If San Francisco wins, the Rams will probably bench everybody because they cannot move up from the 6th seed. If San Francisco loses to Seattle, now the Rams can win and move up 1 notch to a 5 seed. That's about it as far as the meaningless of the game. Arizona is playing for absolutely nothing, obviously. They've been terrible all year. Jacoby Brissett's playing for a contract and a future, hopefully as a starting quarterback somewhere. They got Trey McBride, who's the best tight end in football. Their receivers are at
Not
full.
Travis Kelce? Sorry.
Definitely not Travis Kelce. They got Marvin Harrison Jr. back and healthy right now. This Arizona Card defense is not much. But I think in this case, based on the fact I believe San Francisco is going to win this game, on Saturday. It's very simple. The Rams most likely, I believe, are going to be playing for nothing going into this game. So with that said, take the Arizona Cardinals +7.5 to, I think, maybe win this game outright, if that's the case. And there's a good opportunity that they stay within the point spread, even if the Rams need the W. But leave the game alone if the Rams end up having to play all their starters to try to win this game.
So the 49ers win, and they're probably going to sit everybody, right?
Yeah, 49ers win. It's very simple. They're going to sit everybody because they gain nothing. So in that case, it's going to pave the way for a Cardinals victory. So, yeah, that's where it sits. It's good old Week 18. This is it's tricky, to say the least.
Okay, last 2 are actually decent games. LA Chargers on the road to the Broncos, tied for the biggest point spread of the week so far. Broncos -12.5.
Yeah, Denver's playing for everything. It's very simple. They win the game. They have the number 1 seed, and the AFC goes through Denver in the playoffs. On the other side of the ball, the Chargers, Justin Herbert, left hand, banged up. They're probably going to sit some players. I don't think there's really anything in it for the Chargers to win this game. So 12.5 is a lot of points, especially in a division battle. But based on the fact that I think the Chargers are going to be sitting some players, and this Bronco team has everything to play for, they're going to step on the gas. Their defense is outstanding. And as we saw last week, like I predicted, Houston's pressure was the difference against the Chargers. And Denver is going to bring that same pressure against an offensive line in the Chargers that is just poor. It's that simple. Flat out poor. So 12.5, a lot of points. We're going to roll with it. I like Denver at home to cover to 12.5. The only chance they don't is a weird backdoor cover. But I think they're going to run away with it, get it done, and go on as the number 1 seed. Boom.
Flexed into the last game of the regular season on Sunday night. This is it. This is the only winner take all, loser goes home game. Baltimore Ravens, who have overcome a lot to even get to this point, they are traveling over to Pittsburgh, who, 9-8's not going to cut it this season. At the Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens are 3.5-point favorites.
Yeah, if Mike Tomlin and this team, this team loses, I think Mike Tomlin very well could be either coaching somewhere else next year, or maybe takes a spot on the TV and does something for the network.
Can we also say, obviously they've let it go, but DK Metcalf, big mistake in his actions. His team needed him last week.
They could have used DK
him
on those jump balls when they had first down and goal and throw to a big body.
So the Steelers, who managed 6 points against the Browns, are going to be now against the Ravens. It's a big game.
Games in Pittsburgh. They haven't announced if TJ Watt's going to play. It's very unlikely TJ Watt plays. It's probably going to be a true game time decision. I know as a competitor he wants to play, but his injury is, it's a lot to come back from right now. So I believe it was like a collapsed lung surgery or some sort of lung surgery. So We'll see on that. This could be the swan song for Aaron Rodgers. Is Aaron Rodgers going to play next year? That's a big question. He hasn't really talked about it. So,
well, he needs to go to the cabin first and
yeah,
put the blindfold on and
some ayahuasca or whatever the heck. But that's the thing. This could be not only Travis Kelce's last game for the Chiefs, but it might be Aaron Rodgers' last game.
But Rodgers is playing for something.
Rodgers is playing for something, but this team is down receivers. They Calvin Austin III was their number 2. He hasn't been playing like a number 2, but he's their number 2 option at wide receiver, and he didn't play last week either. Will he be available this week? They need him for sure, because going to the tight ends, it worked until it didn't, and they couldn't get it done with Cleveland with just their 3 tight ends. Tough game. It's in Pittsburgh. That's one huge benefit for Pittsburgh. They're in Pittsburgh, and they're tough. It's a big division, black and blue rivalry, bruising matchup. Derrick Henry. It's amazing when you actually run Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
He does good things. If John Harbaugh only would have done that the game before and not, didn't run him for the last 14 minutes of the fourth quarter. Imagine that. Way to go, John. So he managed to embarrass my Green Bay Packers. And that 4th touchdown, just for the record, 2-minute warning, no timeouts for Green Bay. I want to go on record as that was complete horseshit, because you take a knee. And that sums up this franchise and why they are in the position they are, because they could have took a knee, but instead they ran some Ole BS touchdown that meant nothing, and I think was out of line. As a Packer fan, as a fan in general, do what you got to do. Derrick Henry had 4 touchdowns. What will he do this week? I believe he's going to be able to run all over Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's defense is not what it's been. And will Lamar Jackson play, right?
Yeah.
Right now, the line is kind of set for Huntley to probably play. Lamar's back. I don't know how bad it is.
Huntley has the hot hand, but I think Derrick Henry's hot. Maybe you don't. With that.
I'm sure Brett Favre would have played with this injury, but they would have shot him up with some sort of opioid, and he would have played. But Lamar Jackson, he probably will not. So, which is crazy with the playoffs on the line. But with Derrick Henry, and Huntley played okay last week, he did enough. This game is wild. I mean, the fact that Pittsburgh put themselves in this spot and didn't beat Cleveland and take care of business, it's on them. And bottom line, Pittsburgh's not going to win this game. No DK Metcalf, no offense. Derrick Henry's going to run all over him again, hopefully. I mean, I think he should. I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't. Take the Baltimore Ravens, -3.5 to the bank. Yep, that's going to be our one bank pick of the week. Normally on week 18, I don't want to touch too much as far as banks and picks, because bottom line, it's a shit show of a week in week 18. But this is one game with absolute meaning, and we're going to go with the Baltimore Ravens to get it done. Bank on it. Boom.
I thought maybe the bank vault was going to be closed for the entire week, but like any other week, I would think we would be taking the Bills to the bank against the Jets, but it's so many question marks.
Yeah.
Like I said, multiple people came up to me and just talked about football in general and said how crazy. We say it every year, but there's a lot of teams playing for seed spots, going from 1 week you're in 1, next week you're in 7. And,
it's very simple. In the AFC alone,
third-string quarterbacks winning games.
Yeah, in the AFC from seed 1 to 7, any one of those teams could go to the Super Bowl, and any one of them could win it. There's no one that's like this dominant force like the Patriots were or the Chiefs were back in the day.
The Giants in Super Bowl 42. Hey, so random pick. Does Myles Garrett get the record this week against the Bengals? With that Bengals offensive line.
Oh boy, he needs a half sack to tie and 1 sack to win. And Aaron Rodgers, by the way, has never been sacked by Myles Garrett in his career, and he tried hard not to get sacked. Joe Burrow, I mean, does he get the record? Oh God.
You feel like the Bengals have to give up a sack at some point. Just that's how their offensive line.
Will be Myles Garrett to do it.
That's
though.
True.
I predict Myles Garrett gets the sack record.
Boom. All right, guys, we will be here throughout the entire playoffs and the wild card weekend, all the way to the Super Bowl, and we'll be talking more football during the podcast too, since we'll only be having 6 games the following week.
Yep.
Crazy how time flies, how the year's flown, guys. Happy New Year. This was our New Year's show. Although all the football takes place, 2026. That was it. That was 2025 in a nutshell. We thank you guys for being here. Please like and subscribe, and we'll keep at it, getting ready for the end of this season and next season.
We're going to have a rally. The playoffs are going to be huge, so be there for it. Looking forward to it. Until then, take it to the bank. Boom.